How's this fresh breeze blowing through the building, eh? I see a lot of this. Maybe there's no breeze. Good morning. My name is Luvuyo Bangazi. Let me stand here because I'm short. Very. Luvuyo Bangazi, and I work here at the MBDA. I work in the Department of Communication and Marketing. We also have the privilege of running this beautiful venue, which was upgraded since 2013 and opened in 2015, not just as an office block. We occupy very little space there because there's so few of us, but it's actually a canvas for many events, many creative spirits that have been here, people with imagination have been here creating memories. So this beautiful venue, which is an old trams of the 1800s, lied dormant, unused. It was an eyesore, to be honest. And the MBDA at the time decided to use it as a platform for the development of the Balkans. What you have since 2015, since we moved into this building, is the revitalization of what's happening upstream. There are nice, beautiful cafes, hair salons, adventure places, you name it. And really, it starts with investing in catalytic programs that can change what's happening in our city. So, this venue, we'd love you to all, at one point in your business, try and book it, please. We need some business. But no, seriously, what you're seeing behind me is a virtual tour. We created this virtual tour to allow you as event practitioners to have a place where you can showcase the potential of an event or of the venue itself to your customers, to your clients, without ever needing to come in here. So you can go to tramwaysvirtualtours.co.za. It's quite interactive. You can click through the location. You can send to your clients, say, I think you should host at the MBDA. Check it out. There's where you see information blobs. You click there, it tells you, the space configuration. You can see images of previous events. So it's an available tool, and it's zero rated, so you're not paying for the data to see this. Okay, so that's what they're paying me to do, to plug the venue. Am I done, Asanda? Thank you. Why are we here? The reason we're here today is because we as a development agency have a mandate. We have a role to play in the development of the economy of the city, in the development of business, in the development of communities, in the development of heritage, in the development across the spectrum of society. This venue, which plays a major role in eventing, has decided to step up and get involved in the development of events in the city. Not just developing and hosting events, but improving the quality of events that we as a city can host. Doing that means we can attract better events into Nelson Mandela Bay. You can get more business into Nelson Mandela Bay. We can actually leverage events as a key driver in tourism. There are many tourism players in the room. They know the value of events in creating a consistent flow of business throughout the year to attract people to our city. So this event is really an opportunity for all of us here to learn from each other, but it's also an opportunity for all of us here to hear from some of the pros who have been in this industry for such a long time. How have they been doing it? What are the trends? How do we recover from the devastation of 2020? We all know that this industry was the hardest hit by COVID because gatherings were banned. We suffered a lot. We wrote off quite a lot of revenue that would have come into this building in 2020. And we haven't recovered from it. I'm sure many of you are in the same boat. So how do we get ourselves back on track? In fact, not back on track, but how do we build differently? The world is different now than it was in 2020. What we know now compared to what we knew before COVID hit is completely different. We're starting to think differently about hygiene. We're starting to think differently about space. We're starting to think differently about interaction. How do we book events? Should we still be using paper registrations, or should we be using tablets? Touchless technologies. All of those factors are important in us building an industry of the future and not just going back to where we were before 2020. So I hope that throughout this morning, we will be engaging, we will be talking to each other, we'll be sharing contacts with each other. I know that there are people in every space, in every aspect of the events industry, from hardware, rentals, to marketing, to sound hire, tech, PR. There's a whole range of you who actually are a sector of sort, but also it's important that we all be able to network and grow together. That's really why we decided to host this event, so that we can all grow together and all grow the city together. We know there's a call in the city that let's make Nelson Mandela Bay work together, and we are thinking that this is an opportunity for everyone in the room, no matter what your role is, whether it's media, whether it's hosting, whether it's sponsorship, whether it's publications, whether it's weddings and conferences and markets, you name it. We believe that the package that we've put together for you, the speakers that we've assembled for you, will allow us to tap into those resources. And during the conversation, let's engage. I think a lot of times we go to events and people talk at us. This opportunity is about engaging. So please use the opportunity that's available to engage the speakers, not just the speakers, but to engage the experts, the 200 experts that are sitting around this table, because everyone here, I saw one of our, I shouldn't call him a tenant, it's a client at the stadium, Lucanio from Chipa United. They host major events that bring in publicity and many other benefits to the city. As our only Premier Soccer League team in Nelson Mandela Bay. But he's here. He's here to understand what can they do better, differently going forward. I've seen many of you who are in the industry that I know personally. So without wasting too much time, because what you're here for is really the engagement. So I'd like to urge you to save Tramways virtual tour. It's without the S, Tramways virtual tour.co.za. That's an incredible tool for you to use, and you can share with your potential clients. You can see the venue from a distance, and we welcome you. Contact Asanda, they'll be here, they'll host you. We have multiple rooms here that are available for use, and that's available. And if you want to email us, tramways@mbda.co.za. It's that simple, tramways@mbda.co.za. And you can follow us on all the social media pages. We are currently live on our YouTube and Facebook page, so feel free to throw in a comment there. But for me, the last thing I'm supposed to do here is to introduce to you your facilitator for this morning. Your facilitator is Melissa Palmer. Melissa is...
And I'm very excited to be your facilitator for today. So I'd like to introduce our panelists, and I'm going to call them up one by one, and they're going to one by one introduce themselves. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Michelle Brown. Could you please come to the stage? Baznante, please come. And then Soseti Olmo. Okay, we're going to start with Michelle. If Michelle could please introduce yourself, your business, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Melissa. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to Asanda Luvuyo and the team at MBDA for inviting us onto the panel. Next month, my PR and events company will be 35 years old on the 28th of February. Thank you. And it hasn't been easy, particularly as Luvuyo alluded to, in the 2 years of lockdown. But let me tell you what lockdown taught us. Those of us that were open to be taught and to learn some lessons. It taught us that we had to diversify and we had to reinvent ourselves and our businesses. And so some of us did and others didn't, but those who did diversify were able to still come through those 2 years of horrendous pandemic restrictions. But look here, we're all here, we've survived, and I think we deserve ourselves a round of applause. So thank you very much. Brown's PR, as I say, will be 35 years old next year. One of the very important things I've learned is loyalty to my clients and to those that I subcontract to. And my very first corporate client is 35 years ago who gave me a chance. Adrian Gardner of Mantis Group is still my client 35 years later and is my friend and is my mentor. And so loyalty to Adrian for me is absolutely key. He was the one who gave me a chance. I am married. I have an incredibly supportive husband who enables me, I don't want to say allows because, sorry, it's 2023, I'm not asking his permission, but enables me to do the kind of work that I do. And I have 2 children, a son of 37 who lives in the Caribbean and a daughter of 31 who lives in Hong Kong. And they are my priority first, foremost, and every time. And Sesetu was my daughter's prefect at school.
So you know.
Okay, can we hand over to Bazinante?
Well, morning everyone. My name is Lubabalo Bazinanto. I am from the Eastern Cape, was born in Gqeberha, and had a chance to move outside the city. I worked a bit in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. I find myself back here because I love Gqeberha. I love what this place gives us. I normally drive around looking for spaces and venues to see what we can give our people. And thank goodness we've been successful in doing that. And when you put out a post and people respond, and we've had a wonderful experience with the people of this place. And if you do not know, Gqeberha is actually booming right now. It is booming with possibility, and we should all ride the wave. And not necessarily worry about the history and behind of where we come from, but where we headed. I think our future is extremely bright as the city. I mean, we have everything that Cape Town has. I was in Cape Town a week ago, and I looked at this beautiful place, and I'm thinking, but we all have this, but it's how we actually nurture it and look after each other and the people that visit our shores. Well, I can go on forever. I love events, and I'm really, really grateful to sit here next to Michelle Brown, which I've known for a very, very long time. And I was saying to her earlier, I got to attend one of her events that she had a few years ago, before COVID. And yeah, now I get to sit next to her. I know Sesetu. We've worked together in a few events. And yeah, it's an honor to sit here. I'm really grateful. Hopefully we'll take something away from this. Thank you, Asanda and the team.
And Sesetu.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sesetu Qomo Seipokwe. I am the founder of Sesetu Qomo Communications, now known as SG Comms, a PR and events agency based in the beautiful city of Gqeberha, with a footprint in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. I've been a Gqeberha girl through and through. In fact, I was born in Uitenhage, eKhayelitsha, and then studied in Gqeberha. Did my postgrad here, worked at the university for a while in the communication space, and that's where I kind of saw the niche or the gap in the market, that there aren't actually a lot of agencies or PR and branding spaces that speak to a young, contemporary Black South African or someone who is based in Gqeberha, who is a young professional or who has studied and is now trying to make something of their lives. So part of creating SG Comms was to say that we all need to represent ourselves in the way that we know best how. And if someone else represents you on your behalf, the story will never be told as authentically as you would to share your own. So SG Comms is completing, we've been running for 5 years on the 1st of July, and now we are in our 6th year of business. Thank you.
Wow. We've got some really great panelists. They've got such a great passion for their businesses as well as for this city. And I'm very excited to hear more from you guys. So how it's going to work is I'm going to ask everyone a few questions. They're going to ask, and I'm going to ask them one by one. In between, we're going to ask, if you have a question, could you please raise your hand? Caro over here in the front has a little piece of paper. If you have a question, raise your hand. She'll give you a piece of paper. You just have to write who the question is addressed to, your name, and what is your question. She'll then collect them, and then right at the end, after we've spoken to all three panelists, we will have a Q&A session, but we will filter through the questions and choose the top 5 to 6 or 7 questions, depending on time. We're doing this way because of time, and we just want to make sure we get all the right questions in. So I'm going to start with Michelle, and I don't know if anyone in this room doesn't know Michelle, but she's very well known in this city, and she's actually a role model of mine. I've been looking up to Michelle for many, many years. Even before I knew her, I knew who she was, and even then, I was like, I want to be like Michelle, but I don't even know who Michelle is. Mm-hmm. But then I met her, and now I know why. She has been around for years, and she is so well respected in the city. And yeah, my question to you is, how have you managed to maintain such great networks throughout the years and keep your level of respect amongst the networks in the community?
Thank you. I don't think you want to be me. I think in order to build, and which is really to create and establish your network, but then the secret is to maintain it. And that's the hard work, to maintain it over 5 years, over 6 years, over 35 years. And that's really hard work. I think that you've got to remain woke. You've got to remain aware of what is happening around you in your city, in your province, in your country, and globally. So you need to know that the cricket series, the Betway T20, is on right now. It doesn't mean that you have to love cricket, but you do need to know that the Sunrisers Eastern Cape is our cricket team in this area, and that they are going to be playing, I think tonight, maybe tonight, in Cape Town, and they're playing here again on Saturday night. I'm not saying you need to be at the stadium, and I'm not saying you need to love cricket, but you need to know that if you want to organize something on Saturday night that is going to maybe appeal to the same kind of people who are going to be at St. George's Park watching the cricket, you're actually going to clash, and you can't have an event on Saturday night of that nature. So I think it's about, Melissa, staying woke, staying relevant. When COVID hit, I didn't know, maybe some people in this room are like me, but I didn't know how to use Zoom. I didn't know how to use MS Teams. And COVID forced us to learn, because if you didn't know how to work online, you were dead in the water. So I had to learn that. And I think that's about staying relevant. And I think, Melissa, if you say to me, how have you kept your networks over the years? Because I do know some incredibly important people. But by the way, I always say to myself, those people also go to the bathroom. So seriously, I can't be a groupie. They also go to the toilet, and I refuse to think that they are more important or more special. But I will treat them with absolute respect. And I think respect is very, very important, not only in our industry, but everywhere. And if people over the years have learned to work with you and learned that you respect what they do and you respect who they are, I think you will keep those networks.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I've worked with you in quite a few different networks and committees as well. you often use the words or the term, it's good PR. Could you please clarify on that? What do you mean by that statement?
It's good PR. I would say to my clients sometimes, you know what? Just send the WhatsApp congratulating that person on the award that they've achieved or they've just attained. It's good PR. In other words, public relations is all about that, relations with the public. And it's about taking down the misunderstandings and the misconceptions that there always are, and about enforcing the communication between people. And so I always say, what is it going to cost you to send a WhatsApp that says, congratulations on winning whatever. Congratulations on your son or your daughter being picked for the Proteas cricket team. Whatever, just do that. It's good PR. It's relations with the public.
Thank you. And then obviously we've got a lot of young people in the room and a lot of upcoming people in the room who possibly look up to you again as a role model like I do. What advice do you have for them? If they were to fill your shoes in the next few years, how do they know what's good PR and what's not good PR?
I think you must stay authentic. I think you've got to stay true to your integrity, your principles, your beliefs. And there actually might be some times that you have to walk away from a possible client or an event because they don't align with your principles. And that's not being big-headed or not thinking that I'm special. I honestly don't. But I think you've got to stay real. And I think people will recognize that. And if I had to say to my younger self, 35 years now later, I'd say, Michelle, continue to be the person that you are. Maybe learn to shut your mouth a little bit. Maybe learn not to be so outspoken. But having said that, I have to tell you one lesson that I have taught my daughter who's working in Hong Kong. I've said to her, as a woman, you are never to stay silent, Nina. Always, always have a voice. Please, do not stay silent. You have to stand up for what you believe in. So I think that's what I would tell my younger self.
Okay, and then I've sat with you in coffee shops and the Boardwalk lounge and all of that with meetings. And there's often people that come up from a different committee and ask you a question, and immediately you're talking about the other thing. And you have got so many things that you are working on, so many different committees, so many different organizations. How do you keep up with everything? How does your brain switch from, we're working on this now, okay, now we're working on this?
Okay, I love to be in charge. I love to be the head girl because I was never the head girl at school because I was too outspoken. I was told that by the headmaster. So I have a diary. I keep everything written down. I stick to that. But, you know, I'm in PR, and PR is, as these two lovely people will know, is about connections and about relationships. And so I love to connect people. And I won't just give someone's cell number out because you ask me for it. I will obviously have to ask them for permission. But I love to connect people. And so if, you know, Melissa, when I finished here, it was then PE Technikon, now Nelson Mandela University. I did my PR diploma there. And I tried so hard to get appointments into corporate, to go and see corporates. No one took me seriously. And I vowed and declared that when I did succeed in my chosen profession and career, I would always help people younger than me who were starting out, always. Because I know there's a ladder that you climb, but I think some people forget that they started at the bottom and they climbed up. And I'm saying, why are we not more of us putting our hands out and taking someone from down there and pulling them up with us? And so I've vowed to myself I would help and mentor and advise and guide, and I do, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, you mentioned your diary, and I just want to know, is that your most important tool to keep track of timelines, to keep track of meetings? Could you clarify? Could you go into more
No,
detail?
I'm old school. Buzz probably has his diary on his phone, and Sesetu, but mine is there on the chair, and I cannot lose it. I've said to my husband, I can lose you. I cannot lose my diary. I cannot. I write everything in my diary, Mel. I just cannot lose my diary. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then I have one last question. Based on my own personal experience, I'm also a business owner. I have 2 kids, but obviously much younger than yours. And I'm going through the school phase, the fetching and carrying and the driving around to extramural activities, and still trying to be a wife and a friend and run a business or several businesses. It's hard. How did you do that? How did you manage to do that? Your children are grown up and you've clearly done it successfully. Could you give some advice for us?
Well, I think it's 2023, so there are a lot of working moms here. I'm not sure that there are many moms who cannot afford not to work in these days. I think you've got to have a great support system, number 1. Number 2, you've got to have a very organized daily life. And number 3, you've got to prioritize. And let me tell you, I said it in the beginning, my son and my daughter have always been my priority. But when I was starting out in my PR company, they were much, much younger. And they said to me one day, why are you always at meetings? Why don't you come to our sports events? Why do you work on a Sunday? Why do you work at night? We don't like it. Other moms are always around. And I thought about it, and then I sat them down and I said, do you like going to a restaurant once a week? They did. Do you like wearing branded clothing? They did. Do you like flying up to your grandparents in Johannesburg and not taking a bus or a train? Oh, they did. I said, okay, that's why your father works and I work. And if you like those kind of things, it comes at a price. We both have to work to keep you in that kind of lifestyle. I'm going to leave you both, think about it for about an hour, and come back to me, and then I'll stop working. I came back and they said, we've thought about it, we love you, continue working. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I'm done with my questions for Michelle. If any of you have questions, Kara's going to stand up and you can just wave your hand, take a little piece of paper, write down a question, give it back to Kara, we'll collect it and we'll ask some questions at the end. We're going to move over to Buzz.
Yes.
I read your bio, I've checked your social media platforms out, and I think you're more like a Buzz Lightyear or buzzing busy bee, because you go from a baby shower to a wedding to massive corporate events. That's amazing, so well done.
Well, thank you.
Buzz, how do you manage to switch the focus? When you get an event, how do you manage to switch your focus from I'm organizing a baby shower today to I have this massive corporate event tomorrow?
Okay. Before I answer her, I must just let you know I'm quivering inside. But I hope I do well. Yeah, well, a baby shower and corporate, those are 2 different events. However, they both work on feelings. Corporate wants to walk away with a certain feeling once the event is done. The same thing is the ladies coming together and celebrating the newborn, the baby that is yet to be born. So I take the same approach. My idea is, or my plan is to make sure that they both walk away happy. The first thing, when you walk into a space, you get a feeling, don't you? When you walked in here, you could tell what was yet to happen before it actually happened. So if you walk into a space and it gives you a certain feeling, you then listen to the client. You listen, you probe, and find out as much information as you can from her so that you can give the final goal or achieve. I told you I was quivering. And to give her the desired outcomes. So my job when I walk into a space is to give the space a facelift. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, talking about spaces. You do events anyway. under the bridge, on the beach, out in the open, or informal venues like this. I want to know, like, what are the challenges, or are there challenges to doing events in various different spaces and different venues? Especially those that are not normal venues like this one. Or
Like
the one
under
we
the
were.
bridge.
Under the bridge.
We actually have had an event under the bridge, Happy Valley. You think about safety. That's the first thing you think about when you're planning an event. You think about conduciveness, the flow, the movement. You look at the people that are going to be attending. Are they mobile? Are they able to interact easily within tables? So safety is key when you're looking for a space. Get the municipality involved, because you do not want to set up and then people come and they move you because nobody knows about it. So find the right channels. That's another thing that we do. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. So as an event organizer, obviously, you're very creative and your mind probably runs wild when you see spaces that are earmarked for events. So I want to know that, like when you see a space, how does your mind work?
Like I said earlier when I introduced myself, that we normally, well, when I got back from Joburg, coming back from home, I had an opportunity to travel outside South Africa, and I got to see what other people are doing. And once again, it took me back to where I come from, PE, and what a beautiful city we have. And I keep on saying that to people, and sometimes I think I'm going crazy, that our city is actually a gold mine. And yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, and how they've changed the name to Gqeberha, and I investigated how it came about. And I read the Word, the popular book, most best-selling book, the Bible, last night, and they talked about Abraham. And he was Abraham first, and then his name changed to Abraham, father of all nations. And I believe that's what happened to us, Gqeberha, senzelwe imbeleko, and we evolved. So I am excited. I'm utterly excited of what is yet to happen. So going back to your question, we look at the space, we see what it can give. Sometimes a client would come to you and tell you that she wants things hanging from the ceiling. I was telling Michelle earlier, we had an event here, we had a wedding here, and the client was excited when she came here because she liked the rustic look that it has. And we actually used that to our advantage. So she wanted things hanging from the ceiling. When I walked in here, I thought, oh my goodness, how are we going to hang things here? How is that going to happen? It was tricky, and we had to drape the half side of the hall. I think we had 300 people in here. And when she walked in, for me, that is my business. When she walked in, and the husband, because what we do normally, we get them to take pictures, the family, get people to take pictures first, and you come see the space, so that we can fix a thing here in between if there's anything that needs to be fixed. But she literally cried. Her cake was as big as the screen. She was so excited. We changed and we transformed the space. Once again, 2 days before the year ended last year, we had another privilege to work with the space, Tramways. We transformed the space upstairs, and we got people calling us, texting us on WhatsApp and shares, asking, where is this place? And I'm thinking, you have been to Tramways, but it's talking about transforming the space, giving a certain feeling when a person walks in. I've been to a restaurant, I've been to a hotel several times. I want to host at Radisson Blu, but we've all been there. All of us in this room have been there. But how do I change it? So I listen to my client, get the feeling, though sometimes they might not be able to say it in so many words. You then sit with them, probe as much as you can, because popular words would be, I love your work, I love you, we love what you guys do. Yes, thank you. However, we need to get to know your needs. And sometimes they don't give us, but we probe as much as we can by having coffee, meetups. If the event is 7 months down the line, we get to know the client. At the end of the day, we then draw a picture of what the event is going to look like. Boom. Then you find a bride crying on her wedding day. So it's a lot of work that is done before we can transform. Under the bridge, safety. One of the first events we had when we got here, never be scared to spend money. Take money out of your pocket and spend it for people to realize your greatness. The problem, we want quick gratification. We want quick success. But I've learned in this industry, if you want success, pop something out of your pocket. pop something out of your pocket and get people excited. We had a Moet party before it became what it is today. And we literally took money out of our pocket. We bought bottles and bottles and bottles for people. And to this date, they do not forget the feeling. It was not anywhere far. It was not anywhere luxurious. It was just up the road here. Open field, green grass, umbrellas, you name it. We hoyed it. We had oysters. We had champagne. It was Hamptons. So we did have fun. So what I'm trying to say is this: you can take something that is nothing and turn it into something. This is a canvas. He was saying earlier on when he stood up here, this is a beautiful canvas that you can actually, as an event planner, PE wants to do what the other person has done. Siyathanda ulandelelana. But in this industry, we need to take the risk and step outside our comfort zone. We have Joburg to compare with. We have Cape Town. We have Durban to compare with. And sometimes when I look at what we do, siyoyika, a big bank of what God can still provide for us. So we have changed to a Gqeberha, meaning a river, water, which is a source of life. That is where we are. Sorry, I went on and on.
Okay, no problem. You're interesting.
I get excited. So
No, it's fine. I think the feeling speaks with me. I love going to an event and having an experience, whether it be a restaurant, like you say, or a performance or an event. That experience is what I take away. Everything else doesn't matter, but if I go into this thing and I had a great experience, it's the key. And I think you've got that with your feelings and speaking to your clients and understanding their needs. So what is the limit? Like, where won't you host an event?
in space, perhaps. Safety, I'll go back to saying that again. If it allows people, we live in South Africa, and we worry about safety. If my car is safe, if my clients are safe, they feel safe, if there's security around, then go for it.
Safety. And just various spaces, if you had to, let's say, take a mountain and you were told it's safe, go do an event there, would you just go there, let your imagination run wild and go for it?
Yes, I flew literally above the mountain when I was in Cape Town the other day. Absolutely beautiful. When I look at that, I see people standing, chit-chatting, music in the background. I see couches, I see all sorts of things. When I walk in here, every time I come here, when we had an event here, I said to the client, I've been there so many times, but I want to go there with you. So there is not a single place where I could not host an event. There isn't a single place. If it's safe, if we have water to drink, if we have food to eat, and have fun. It is the feeling. If you feel something after this meeting, we would have achieved the goal. So if you walk away saying that, ikhona into endifumeneyo, then that's it. That's the whole point about having such. It is for me to sit here, sorry, I'm going to go back. For me to sit here, it is a privilege and an honor. It's something that I wrote down literally, because I do write my goals. And I think it was 5 years ago. I want to sit in front, because normally I'm the one that carries tables and put the chairs here and speak to the sound guy that it's not working. Neil over there, I've worked with him, and seeing people in the same industry as I am is exciting. And yeah, there's not a single place I would not host an event.
Fantastic. So glad to hear that. Okay, and then of all the events that you've hosted, which seems to be so many, what is your favorite?
Perhaps my clients are here. Well, we've had interesting events. I've had an opportunity to study what I'm doing actually, events and exhibition management at Damlin, just up the road in Warmer, before they moved. So we had a lady that wanted to celebrate her husband. But when we went to a space, she stays in the township. So when we went into a space, I thought, hey, this is not going to happen. I mean, you can't. The space is small. The walls are looking, So I thought to myself, what can we do? What can we do to transform the space? I went on Google, not even Google then, mind you, because that was some time ago. I got a page that looked like a pattern that flows nicely together. And then I printed an A4 page, and then I put 4 pictures next to each other, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, actually this could be a wallpaper. This could be a backdrop. So what we did, the kids, the mother went to work and the father, but the mother knew that we were having this, so she paid us, I think probably 800, whatever the amount was then. We took the money, we did the printing, and we transformed the space. And when she walked in, she was in awe of how we actually transformed the space. We had the tables set and everything. So for me, that was low budget, but most memorable. The look and the feeling she got from what we did. On Facebook recently, we posted a picture. We attended an event. So this lady says to me, Buzz, do you remember me? And I'm like, no, I don't. She says, you did an event for our father in Middelburg. And I thought, have I been to Middelburg? And I'd actually forgotten. I've forgotten of what we have done and what we gave people. So yes.
That's your favorite. Thank you so much, Buzz. Again, if you have any questions for Buzz, please put your hands up and write them down. We'll collect and ask him those questions afterwards. Welcome, Sesetu.
Thank you.
So, PR and event specialist. I'm so glad to meet you finally today. I believe you have sprouted post-COVID, and I'm excited to hear that. You are in PR and events, but more specifically, communication. So my first question to you is, how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect your business in the way you communicate?
Well, I'll start it out as a story. You know, when we first heard that COVID was coming and it was going to come to an end in the next 3 to 4 weeks, so we just need to hang 10. So you found that there were a lot of postponements in terms of engagements. So you'd get a call and say, okay, the training has been put on hold. You know, let's circle back in May. This event has been put on hold. Let's look maybe in the next quarter. And so the events started piling up until we came to a place where everything was cancelled. And when we discovered that, okay, we are now in a bit of a pickle, how on earth are we going to pay our overheads? How are we going to pay the staff? How are we going to maintain the rent? So first and foremost, one of the things COVID taught us, or taught me specifically, was to take a lean approach in business. We often find that when we are positioned in a particular space, or, well, our offices were in Villiers Road in Boma, and we thought, geez, we are right up there, you know, in this really nice space, so that's going to attract whatever the case may be. When we had to work from home, that space wasn't relevant anymore. And you were just paying exorbitant amounts of money for something that wasn't really useful. So what I found was the use of your skill set was what was going to transform you into whatever you were good at. So I knew that I was good at putting together events. I knew that we are thriving when it comes to training and facilitation. And although the digital marketing aspect was not so much the strong leg of the company, we then decided we have to now pivot and change. So we started then getting a lot of phone calls saying, listen, we've been running this business for X amount of years. This is how we've been doing it. Now, all of a sudden, we have to be on, you know, blooming Facebook. How do we do this? What do you do? And I did it for 2 clients of mine that were my clients. And I said, look, let me look at a digital marketing strategy for you. Let's work out a social media retainer, and then we can see how best we can keep your company top of mind whilst we are still going through this phase. And that's how literally it started, to take the skill sets or whatever your company is capable of doing and putting it digitally. From a training perspective, as Michelle had mentioned earlier, that we were no longer now speaking to people in front of a stage like we are today, but we had to connect virtually. So putting on training sessions and saying, this is what we were going to teach you face to face. Now we have to kind of move into the space. How do we digitalize and how do we make this experience as user-friendly as possible? As user-friendly as possible for the person on the other side. So the two main things were first to go lean, to say, look, there are certain things we're going to have to live without. Secondly, to take our skill sets and maximize all of them. And as much as we know, when you're in business, 90% of your revenue comes from a specific stream, to look at diversifying and say, what else can we do with what we have, and how do we get it onto digital platforms?
Fantastic. Okay, so apart from digital and making your business a bit lean, I believe that you've grown substantially since COVID, or at least during and post-COVID. How have you managed to do that? It's been a tough time for all of us. That's something I'd like to know.
So one of our flagship events is a Women's Day event called Mbogodo Rise. It's a women's function that we put together and started when the company started. And, you know, when you're in the event space and you put together flagship events, you know how it's business as usual. It's going to be a sold-out show. You know that you're going to speak to this guy and that guy. These are the speakers, and everything runs like it should, right? But now you're faced with a completely different monster. We had already booked the venue and paid at the boardwalk, and they said, look, the capacity is now no longer 200. We're now sitting with 50 people. So part of the revenue also comes from the ticket sales. How are we going to then maximize what is happening in terms of getting our money back from, you know, the event itself? And that is when we were introduced to live streaming, and we said to our friends at the NBDA, actually, they helped us and said, look, we sent through a proposal to request for sponsorship, and we would like to live stream the event. So on the day of the event, we found that, yes, there were only 50 people within the venue. We had to do 2 sessions of that event. So we had 50 people in the morning session, 50 people in the afternoon session. But on both sessions, we live streamed. So in person, we targeted only 15 people, but on live stream, we reached, I think when we looked at the analytics, over 20,000 people. So when we realized that actually, you know, face-to-face is great because you see the bums on seats and you're really excited that you have a full show, but then the impact that you can actually have virtually is far higher and far greater than just having an in-house engagement. So that is when the hybrid approach of doing things then started becoming more of a norm. And in the hybrid approach, we found that engagement was also key, because now people are Zooming and eventing and virtualing their lives away. How are you going to make your event different on screen? How are you going to engage with someone who might have 2 toddlers running around in the background, competing for the remote, and there's someone else wanting a snack, and you have all sorts of other things happening? How do you make sure that they are also feeling as much of a part of the show or part of the event or part of the engagement as the people who are here today? So increasing the engagement by having polls, by having questionnaires, by having certain things running concurrently with your live event, and then also being able to have little segments where people can take a leg break, and just how to elevate the experience, both not in-house only, but also virtually. So now that we've seen that been happening for the past 2 years, a lot of people have now become picky in the events that they attend, because if I can see it on live screen, or, you know, I don't have to go to church in the morning, I can just catch it on YouTube, or I can just, you know, catch it from the comfort of my lounge. How am I going to attract you and keep you there and eventually bring you back into the live experience? So now, being in the events industry, a lot of surveying, Q&Aing, finding out what did you enjoy the most, what did you enjoy the least, what more of whatever would you like to see more of, and finding out exactly what the client wants in order for us to keep them retained. And obviously then the environment to elevate the experience as best as we possibly can.
Thank you. So my next question was, did you have to reinvent your business during COVID? And I think you did answer a lot of it, but would you like to clarify a little bit on, was it very difficult for you to do that? Did you have to get training in all the technology of live streaming and understanding all that jargon? I'm sorry, I'm still not there.
I think reinventing makes it sound like, my business took a completely different, shape or form. But I think the use of innovation, what COVID has taught us is to understand that Google is your friend. If you do not understand something, you can always find it on Google, or to ask other industry experts, and also to learn the power of collaboration. I think especially in the Eastern Cape or in the PE space, we found that, well, in my space, that a lot of agencies work in silos, or if they don't know each other, then they kind of don't work with you. But working in collaborative events or initiatives has heightened the reach far higher and far greater than you would have in your own personal capacity. So if you knew the clientele that you have at BNE conference, and I had my clientele and my people that I work with at SG Comms, and we put an event together, we would draw different stakeholders that we wouldn't have conventionally done had we worked or operated in silos. So more innovation and the power of collaboration, working together with other people who are good at what they do or who specialize in that specific thing, has really helped in terms of advancing in my business. Also, the fact that we were online a lot, you found that you were looking and searching at so many different programs. I then stumbled across a program with BRICS, which is an international agency, and there was a video there showcasing a bus tour of Amapiano in the UK. And it was an absolute hit, an absolute sensation, because people couldn't get out. The UK then brought African artists, because we were all listening to everything online. They discovered that Amapiano is something that is just, out of this world. And they were absolutely loving it. And there were so many collaborations with South African artists and African artists and other international agencies that we wouldn't have generally seen. And there also were opportunities for us as small PR agencies to be a part of that and say, let's be a part of this collaboration. Who would have thought that in the advent of COVID-19, we would be collaborating with UK-based agencies? So I think that was definitely a pro in terms of reinventing the business, that no company or no space was too far or too out of reach. All you could do is drop an email and hope for the best, and if there is a progressive conversation, you then take it from there. So I think from that perspective, it's really widened the way we do things, and has also widened our scope in terms of online and speaking to international clients and stakeholders.
Thank you. So, yeah, collaboration, I think, is very important. I think especially in a small city like Berge. What networks did you have to tap into to access the support needed to boost your business during and post-COVID?
The networks, we're part of the Women's Circle, which is a beautiful network that was started by Michelle. When was it? Last year? Yes. And then being a part of mentorship programs, we were also part of the Collective Insights program, and where Michelle was linking up some of the people that she had relationships with. And I called Michelle and I saw that one of the mentors was actually Dawn Nathan-Jones from Shark Tank. And I said, Michelle, if I am part of the mentorship program, I want to be linked up with Dawn Nathan-Jones. And Michelle said, listen, I'm going to tell you who you're going to be linked up with. You're not going to tell me. So, but, true as Bob, I was linked up with Dawn, and we then started working together in her organization called Over the Rainbow in Cape Town. and we started meeting up virtually, having mentor meetup sessions until things started opening up a little bit. And then eventually went to Cape Town, and she said, you know what, I really enjoy seeing your business and the potential that you show. We'd really love for you to be a partner with us. So with those kind of resources and access to market, it really has helped open up so many other opportunities, which goes back to relationships. Maintaining relationships, especially in this industry, is of paramount importance, and making sure that you don't burn any bridges when you leave. I remember we were here actually for another MBDA event, and I met one of my very first bosses, Andrew Binning, and he was our boss at Nkanyezi Events, and I had done my internship there. And he said, oh my goodness, Sesethu, who would have thought 12 years later you're now on my competitors list, you know? And we had a little chuckle about that. But I mean, he's someone that I can call and say, Andrew, there's something that's happening. Do you know anything about it? Could you advise, or whatever the case may be? So maintaining relationships throughout your working experience, maintaining relationships with clients, maintaining relationships with stakeholders definitely sets you ahead above the rest, especially as you had mentioned in the city of Gqeberha.
Fantastic. My next question is basically, in the city of Gqeberha,
Yes.
we have a saying that it's not what you know, but who you know.
Yes.
That matters. And I think you've answered a lot of that, but yeah, I think it's very, very true. But it's exactly that, right? It's not what you know, but who you know in the city.
Yes, to a certain extent. I mean, if I were to look back at my life 5, 6, 7 years ago, I wasn't known by anyone. Or, you know, I don't think that I had a very strong network. But what made me recognizable, to be recognized, or to be aligned to people who you can recognize with, is creating or charting your own ground. So if I'm saying I want to be the head PR person, or I want to be the lead events organizer, how do I align myself and the work that I do, the work that I put in, the consistency, you know, to show that this is my portfolio of evidence. When I look at my very first event, I think the budget was 3,800. And from there was like a little meal, a little a drink, a big jug of juice and a jug of water and glasses. And now when we look back 5 years later, I mean, we in the 6 figures. So when we look at our portfolio of evidence, or when you look at your portfolio of evidence, it's not necessarily always the who you know, but when I come to someone who has the opportunity to open up my networks, I can say, hi, I'm Sesethu, this is what I've done, this is what I've achieved, no matter how big or small it may be. But if I operate with excellence in everything that I do, or pursue everything that I do with an element of excellence, so that when I do come to someone who could give me that opportunity, or who could open that door for me, I come with something and not say, help me, I'm in PR, I've just graduated, and I want to be the next SG Comms, or whatever the case may be. So I've learned that I also need to blaze my own trail, and also make sure that I'm creating a name for myself, so that when I do link up with someone who does have a great name, I can also have something to contribute to the table.
I think before today, I didn't know you, but now I do. So, yeah, I think it's also from my side, if I just have to add to that, don't work to your job description, just work more.
Yeah.
And show people that you are worth more. And even if your job says do this, do more. You'll eventually be noticed, and eventually someone will help you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, those are my questions. And thank you so much to the panelists for answering my question. Can we just give them a round of applause quickly? Okay, so if you've got any questions for Sesethu, please hand them over to Caro. I've got a few over here, and I'm just going to start with them. We have a little bit of extra time because we finished early, so I've got a few that we can answer. Andrew Stewart, and it's Peri Expo, and I think it's for Michelle. Or the one thing that could improve the opportunity for our sector in Nelson Mandela Bay. There are many, but what is the main one? The one thing that could improve the opportunity for our sector in Nelson Mandela Bay? Question mark. There are many, but what is the main one?
Where's Andrew? Thank you for that. I think, Andrew, and to everyone here in the audience, I don't think this is working. Sorry, sound guys. Okay. One thing that could improve what we offer in Nelson Mandela Bay, I think that people in Nelson Mandela Bay have to believe in what we can offer. I don't think there's a climate of enough self-belief. I think we always say, oh my word, I think you could do that so well in Cape Town. I think Joburg has this to offer. I'm sick and tired of that. So exactly what Buzz is saying, there are fabulous locations here, fabulous venues, great service providers, but we actually have to believe in them. Otherwise, I'm not sure how we can get outside people to believe in us. We have to believe in ourselves, Andrew. Very easy to say, but let me tell you, not done by too many. And I just want to say, when people say, where do you come from? And if people say, the Windy City, I actually want to punch their teeth through their mouths. I say, we come from a city that has wind, which is why we have the wind farms, which is why we have renewable energy. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Our next question is from Natasha from BNE Conference Center. She's wanting to ask Buzz, firstly, love listening to you and the passion you have for our city. Her question is, the suppliers for your events, do you use local or do you find suppliers that are in our city or do you bring them in from other cities?
Well, thank you for the question. Thank you for the compliment as well. We had a chat earlier on, Michelle and I. She was asking Buzz, do you do events outside? And I said, yeah, yes, we do. We had Somerset, we had Joburg, we had Cape Town. We do all things outside us. And the reason why we do that, I want to show off that we can do it. When I go to the airport and talking about the Windy City, I tell people, well, the lady behind the counter, I'd say to her, I was a Budu Yakupi, they say in Zulu. And I'm going to PE, trying to accommodate them because maybe they won't pronounce Gqeberha well. And they're like, you're from Gqeberha. Tswana, Pedi, Zulu people, they get excited. So I think we should have that excitement as well. Going back to your question, yes, we do use people locally and we travel using a trailer. Worst thing ever. I was saying to Michelle earlier that when you use a trailer, you do not consider the weather throughout the provinces. So now you have wooden, rustic furniture. It's rustic, but it gets them more rustic on the other side. The cushions are wet. It is horrible. We did that. They literally said, they experienced that with me. When we got to the client, we had to take everything out of the trailer because things were soaking. So we try to use as much as we can locally, but some things are cheaper in Durban, some other things are cheaper in Johannesburg. But what we do is get as much as we can from our city.
Okay, I'm not sure who this next question is aimed for. Amita. Amita, who were you asking? General, okay. So I'm just going to ask it, and if you have a response to the question, please do so. Number one, who is responsible for marketing our destination for national and international events? I'm just going to follow into how can we support or get involved, and what role can event suppliers play in that?
Who's responsible for marketing Nelson Mandela Bay?
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism, number one. That is their role. And number two, every single one of us sitting in this room who is from here and who needs to, again, be shouting from the rooftops about Nelson Mandela Bay, but being authentic and shouting with a self-belief. That's what I think.
Anyone want to add to that?
Yes, self-belief. Like, I want to go back to what you were saying earlier, that sometimes we do lack confidence as the city. And we've hosted the World Cup 2010 right here. And if we can do that, there's nothing that we cannot do. We have people that are wanting to come, but they still want to find out. If you're not watching TV, there's so much happening around Gqeberha. I know the coach for Mapokopoko, he has his own reality show coming up, and he's based in PE. So it is such things that what I want us to fix is for the next upcoming generation to enjoy what we perhaps have not. Or perhaps we can still enjoy it and allow them to see what they still can have. Yes, we are the people that are supposed to put our city out there.
You want to say something? I think, what was the second part?
It was how can we get involved and what role can the suppliers play?
I think,
suppliers.
yeah, from a getting involved perspective, it goes back to what Michelle had mentioned, that to stay on the lookout in terms of what events are happening. Even though you might not be a cricketing fan, be alert, be conscious, and be in the know in terms of what events are happening so that you can also maybe align yourself. I know we recently have Gqeberha, The Empire, which is a film which is now being in the Eastern Cape and predominantly in Port Elizabeth, knowing that reaching out to the producer, to the director, to one of the cast members to say, hey, I'd love to, help out in the launch, or I'd love to be a part of the organization of the whatever the case may be. So sometimes it's not necessarily having events come to us or waiting for things to come to you. If you know something is happening in your city, take initiative and go out there and, pitch yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is for Buzz. Okay, it's from Zolisi Madulwana. Sorry, the handwriting is quite difficult to read on some, so I'm trying my best. It says, hi Buzz, I'm such a fan. I recently started an events company, but not yet operating. I still have strategy for how to go about to our small community of Warmer. My question to you is, how do I go about to start an entertaining event that includes artists and culture, drama and dance?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Start where you are. Start with what you have around you. When you use your resources around you, you then expand. You expand and you grow and you grow and you grow. Like I told you about my story, one of my most memorable stories was the lady that cried because we changed her literally wall. I mean, there's nothing exciting about changing the wall, but it hit home for her that we could do that for her. So start with what you have. Use the networks around your area. Never look down upon the people that are close to you. So sometimes we stay in communities that are not conducive to get us where we want to be, but try and use as much as you can with what you have. That's the advice I would give you. We have the resources.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, and then Gino asks, I see there's a lot of cruise liners coming to the dock of our harbour. What are those passengers doing in PE, and is there any opportunity to get involved?
Well, I think Andrew Stewart, you with Discover Mandela Bay, which is a tourism collaboration with Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism. I think that a lot of those, am I correct, Andrew? A lot of those passengers are here for one day, and they are taken to Addo, which is fantastic, an hour away, and you don't have to have malaria tablets. So they go to Addo, they see the game. They are taken to the Boardwalk Mall. I saw a whole lot of them there last weekend. They are taken to Bay West, and yes, those are malls, but those tenants also rely on income, and it is what our city has to offer. They are taken on rugby charters. They go out on the bay. They go to Off the Hook at the harbour, and they have lunch sitting right there on the harbour. I think there's a lot that the tourism arms actually put together for them. Am I right, Andrew? Oh, sorry, Donnay, yes. Am I right? Sorry, Donnay. Donnay is a twin, so I never know if I'm talking to Donnay or Erin. Oh, okay, Erin.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, so actually this season already we've seen quite a few longer stays. So we've got a couple of 2-day stays. and they are doing events in the city. I know they're looking at some events in the Feather Market Hall. I believe Frosne is also dealing with one of them. So it's coming. We are also getting our first turnaround port next year, if all goes well, which means people will fly in, get on board, people will disembark from here. Yeah, so a lot more ships coming. So we're pushing for longer stays so that we can get events. And if any of you have any events proposals that you want to pitch to the shipping agents, the ground handlers, you can gladly send it to us and we'll facilitate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting and exciting. Cool. Okay, Andiswa Marikani from Dikani Consultings has a question, I believe, for Buzz. How does one get in touch with you should they require outsourcing for an event? And number two, what's the best advice you would give an events organizer in terms of pricing?
Well, thank you again for the question. If you're here and you want to get hold of me, I'm here. We can talk. But we are on social media. The company is called B&O, Buzz and Onke. We have gained trust Yabantu in Port Elizabeth, and we truly appreciate that. I want to get to the next question.
Price point.
Hey?
No, the next question. What's the best advice you would give to event organizers in terms of pricing?
Good question.
Sure.
Oh my goodness. Others
Tricky.
think you're too expensive. Others think you're too cheap. So you just, you work. Can I tell you a secret? I work with what the client has. Don't tell that to anybody. I work with what you have. If you have 1,000 and then you just need a chair, I'll give it to you. More or less, you can tell how much we're going. We're not cheap. And once again, my lady over here, she did mention that. Buzz, please never, ever, ever, younger people, do not take what you guys for granted. We do so much. After an event, you're exhausted. You don't want to do anything. But guess what? The next day you show up. Whatever you put there, you need to take back. You need to take it back to your suppliers. If it has a chip, you must pay for it. Now, the client is gone. And you don't want to give a client that burden. I mean, it's just 2 glasses missing. Then guess whose pocket does it come out of? Out of
Yours.
my pocket. So pricing has a lot of factors around it. And it depends what it is that you want. If you want us to take you to Table Mountain, we will at a price. If you want us to take to Elifa and Mafa in KwaZulu, we will do so. By the way, check it up. We transformed Elifa and Mafa this one time, and people couldn't understand. Talking about transforming space, they did not know where the place was. And I told them that, no, this is a Chisanyamba that is in the township, and people still didn't understand. One last thing. Going back to what you were asking earlier, which I did not touch on. Being young is a gift. It is a gift. Please use it, because we're not always going to be young. Another thing, when we had an event in, I will not mention the name, it's outside Port Elizabeth. It's a boutique hotel. When we got there, they did not know who we were. They saw these 2 black guys who are pushing a trailer, and what the hell? This is an exclusive place. What are you doing here? It was a mess. It was windy, but the wind was not as bad as PE does have normally. So what we did, the client wanted to have an event outside. And she insisted that she wants to have the event outside. The people are saying, no, we cannot have the event outside. We cannot, it's windy here. The client on the other side, she's on the phone, Buzz, I'm on my way, please tell these people the event starts at 1. The time is 12, and she's on her way, coming out of PE, passing crossways. It was a war, wanting to make sure that this lady, who's turning 40, who has invited friends that she went to school with, VP, Pearson, Collegiate, people around came from other places, because we move most when we stay here. We move outside. They came, and now they're sitting here, and there's nothing happening. So we did what we do best, improvise. We took, there they are, laughing. We took everything that we had, and if you go to Inhle Boutique Hotel, you will see It is a long way to the deck on the other side. And the time is 12 o'clock, and they're arriving, and the lady that has an event is coming closer. I don't know how we transformed that. I do not know how we did it, but we were crying. We were crying. He popped balloons, and we were supposed to put up balloons. He popped balloons because he was nervous, because he was losing his mind. It was crazy, but I'll tell you what. Go to my page, Buzz Nando, Instagram, and go to the video. When the ladies arrived, no one knew the drama we experienced. Nobody. So ijob yakho as a planner, kukuquma inyala elenzekayo that will embarrass. It is the client at the end of the day. So my job is to back up the bride, to back up the client. Corporate client wants to be protected as well. They don't know everything. I've learned the biggest companies are not necessarily the most organized. So my job as a planner, it is to show up and show off. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michelle.
Who asked that? Andiswa? Yeah.
Yeah.
Andiswa, can I also say something? Buzz says a lot of you are young here, and own that and be proud of that, and don't be embarrassed of that. But equally, a lot of us are older. And there are a lot of us oldies who've been in the game here for many years in the city who are here. Also, please own that and be proud of it, because if we can work together with younger people, that synergy and collaboration is amazing. But I want to say something else about pricing. Yes, we will work within a client's budget, but I was talking to Buzz about this earlier, and what did I say to you? Know your worth. Value your own worth, please. Do not ever underestimate what you bring to the client's table.
Thanks, Michelle. And Buzz, we're running out of time, so I have chosen 4 more questions that I'd like to just run through quickly. The rest of you who didn't get your questions answered, we are going to stick around afterwards, and if you have any questions for the panelists, please come and ask them the questions. I've got one for Sesetu. Actually, 2 for Sesetu, 1 for Michelle, and I believe this one is for Luvuyo, who's going to have to also answer something. Okay. I believe that a lot of events fail because they lack comms or communications, PR, and marketing. How do you make your services available to event organizers in order to avoid the above? And how do they get hold of you?
How do they get hold of me? I'm available on all social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, SG Comms, or Sesetu Gqomo Sebokwe, or on our website, www.sgcoms.co.za, and Facebook, everywhere. If there's a social media platform, I'm on it. And then in terms of communication,
Yeah, many companies fail because they don't have sufficient, or they lack communication, PR, and marketing. How do you make your services available to them?
Oh, so I would then provide those services. But outside, if you can't, get a hold of my services or afford my services, one of the first things that I've learned very early is to write everything down. When you're planning an event, you have to write everything down, every last thing, and have a plan, a mental plan. A lot of events fail because people have an idea in their head of what is going to happen and how it's going to play out. And then when it happens on the day, half the people don't actually know what was happening in your head. So everything that you do, from the logistics to the time to the program to the running order, write it all down in order for you to have an understanding. And should anything happen to the person who is responsible for whatever role or task, they can know what to do in the absence of you, or the person in charge is not there. So if I write down everything down, and I have Michelle's number, Buzz's number, my number, and let's say Sanda, got into an accident, and now Sanda was the only person who had Michelle and Buzz and myself's number, the numbers are there. So having a contingency plan is always, always, always important. So just write everything down to clarify all misunderstanding for yourself and for the people that you are working with.
Thank you. And my next question, Michelle, having been taught PR by you many years ago, this is from Zomzi and Shona. Sorry, Shona. Zomzi?
Are you here? Where's something? Oh.
Her question is, would you consider setting up a school to teach PR and eventing within the current times?
No. No, because I do a lot of mentoring, and I'm happy to mentor someone. I say I'll give you 1 hour a month for 3 months, no charge, because that's my give back, what I promised myself, what I spoke to you about earlier. But to open a school, I mean, I taught at Damlin, before your time, darling. I taught at Varsity College, so I love teaching. But to open a school comes with all its own headaches and red tape and bureaucracy, and I don't want to be involved with that at all. No.
Okay. The next one is for Sisetu. How do you convert your digital marketing that stream your events into revenue for your company?
So part of that is when we look at our analytics and our insights, when you look at the back end of who has been watching, where are they from, what sector are they in, what management position or what position they hold in the hierarchy of things. And first bet is just always to open up the communication, because clearly if they have opened up your link or watched for X amount of time or have clicked to see anything else that you have on offer, there is an element of interest. So one of the first things I learned is firstly to always open up with the conversation, and secondly, if someone requests for a quote, you respond within the first 48 hours, and you find that after 6 touch points, will someone then be open to doing business. So if you reached out to someone, had the meeting, gave them the pitch, gave them the quote, there's usually 6 touch points until you actually clinch the deal. So it is a bit of a process, but I think it's just also understanding the scope and the type of people so that you can meet your potential clients' needs according to how they see things or how they want things to be done.
Fantastic. And
and also having a list with expectations. We find that in social media, someone says to you, we'd love SGComs to run our social media. We say, great, we'll put you on a 1-year retainer for X amount. And then they expect that because you now have a social media page or on Facebook and Twitter, you're now going to go from selling 30 cupcakes to 4,000 in the next 2 months. So managing that expectation is something that's very important. So having a questionnaire or a what do you expect, you know, and what is your price point? What are you looking to pay? What are you expecting to pay for the service, and what is the out you're expecting? Also gives you an understanding of what the client requires, how much they're willing to pay, and what the return on the investment is going to be about. So it doesn't harm to have a little questionnaire before even engaging with the client, so that you can see where they're at, and also be helpful. It will be helpful for you to sensitize them to what is required in your service.
Great, thank you so much. And then I think Livuyo might have to answer this one. It's from Vulindawo, and it's all about who you know. How do we tap into or access MBDA assistance?
Well, thank you for the question. So, a lot of the time, we are requested for support. Usually it's around finance. It's around sponsorships and money. I think most of the people here will tell you we hardly give any of that because we don't have. Our resources are very limited. But we'll sit down and we say, we got a team that's really good at live streaming, as I say to, or we've got a team that can really write stories for you, that can write a business plan, that can draft a strategy for what you need. And sometimes people walk away because what they really want is funding. So let's kill that one first. We're not a funding institution. We receive funding from the city. So, you know, you don't get this side and you pass it out this way. Because by the time you receive it, it's already allocated to certain things. But then how do we support you? So this event follows on the heels of an event that happened here in December, which we called Market Access. Market Access was an exhibition of locally made products made by Gqeberha businesses that need to connect with one another, that need a trading platform, that need to market their products and services. So we create platforms like that for growth and enablement of business to grow. A few months before, we put out a call for creatives in the city, those who do arts, music, photography, and we use the space, as I said, it's a canvas for many different things. It was turned into a classroom because we had over 50 Nelson Mandela Bay creatives being taught the skill of marketing their businesses, of creating the right profiles for their artists or themselves, and really how to package and sell yourselves in the digital space across to many other platforms. So what am I saying? What I'm saying here is, if you're looking for funding, we're not that kind of organization. You will find the NYDA, you will find the CEDARS, you'll find the municipality and many others. What we do provide is soft services, support services. We even provide this venue. We have Asanda who runs this venue, and she's got a target on a scorecard that a certain percentage of the time must be given to deserving initiatives that are adding value to the city. So if you're looking for support in those sort of things, and instead of paying us 10,000 Rand a day for this venue, you need to put up a case. How is that event adding value to the city? So we'd like you to really think about those things. And maybe let me take the opportunity, if you look outside the window or through the door or when you're on your way out, there's construction work happening upstairs there behind the cemetery. That's going to be a new development that's going to offer event possibilities. There's going to be an amphitheater there surrounding the beautifully restored Old St. Peter's Church, internet cafes, coffee shops, you name it. So we're creating these spaces to allow you to be able to dream up these beautiful ideas and execute them. And really, when we see there's value, we'll engage. We had people who wanted to use the parking that you've used under the bridge to do a drive-through movie screening. We agreed. We've never done it before. They actually wanted money for it, but we said, we don't have money, but we can give you the parking lot. They made their money back. So you have to think outside the box. If you come to us, I want X thousand Rand, don't even come to the door because we don't have it. We can't give you something we don't have. If there's anything else, please chat to us. We are available on all the social media platforms. We work very closely with the municipality. If we cannot help you, and we know of a department, a division, a tourism department, they do a lot of training for tour guides and a lot of empowerment work. We work with SREC on creative industry. We are integrated in the city. We are integrated with Nelson Mandela Bay. We're not a separate island. We're not our own municipality. So if we can't help you, we'll find a way to direct you where you can be helped best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then on this page, the same is another question, and I want to aim it either at Michelle or Sesetu. How do we tap into the events or marketing networks?
How, in Nelson Mandela Bay?
Nelson Mandela Bay.
Well, first of all, there are 3 of us here already, 4 of us on the stage. Come and see us. The question is, how do you tap into the events and marketing network? Melissa's going to announce an initiative now for Nelson Mandela Bay Business Event Awards. But I think that you just need to step up and you need to come forward and you need to say, how do I get into this network? Please remember that networking is about connections and it's about relationships. And it's so much easier if you can contact someone for the first time having been referred by a mutual friend or a mutual contact. So if I want to contact Gary Player, the golfer, then I contacted him via Adrian Gardner, who knew him. And when I am on the phone to him and say, Hi, Mr. Player. It's Michelle Brown from Nelson Mandela Bay. Adrian Gardner gave me your number. I hope you don't mind. It's so much more effective than saying, hi, I'm Michelle Brown, you don't know me, from Nelson Mandela Bay. And he'll say, how did you get my number? And I say, I can't tell you. That really isn't effective. But I always find, and I'm sure that everybody on the stage will back me on this and reinforce it, that if you can phone, if you can make the initial contact through a referral or a connection that is a mutual connection, I promise you doors will open. But you cannot abuse that. You cannot abuse that. My daughter was at school and best friends with Sia Kolisi. That's how I got Sia's number. I'll tell you that for nothing. My daughter gave it to me. And I told him those years ago, this is how I got your number through my daughter, Nina Brown. And he goes, no, that's fine, but please don't share my number. Of course, I will never do that, ever. That is so unethical. But there was my referral. The connection was my daughter. That's how I got him. Okay? So try and get a connection or a referral or something, but you have to step up. We cannot do it for you.
Thank you, Michelle.
And just to add to that, I think also aligning yourself to the types of events or to the type of space that you want to eventually see yourself in is also quite important. So if you know that these types of events are happening and there will be people who are in your space, align yourself to such events that are happening in and around the metro, and that's where, you know, the conversations will start flowing. So if I see you often enough, or if you see other people often enough, they'll say, oh, I remember they were at so-and-so and whatever, so that it can also just create that element of getting to know other people within the industry.
Thank you so much. That's the end of our questions, but I'd like to just add on to that because it kind of flows into what I'm going to announce. I think networking, collaboration is key, networking is good. Step up, but also show up. There are many associations in PE, the Business Chamber, there is SAACI, South African Association for the Conferencing Industry. I'm the chair of that, and there is a body here for that. So that's a way you can tap into that network as well. And there are other associations that you can just be part of. And when they have networking events or meetings, show up, because that's where you're going to meet all the people that you need to speak to. That's where you're going to connect with the correct people who will be able to guide you in the right direction. That's where I probably met Michelle Brown after she didn't know she was my role model, but I met her 2 or 3 years later. But it's networking, it's collaboration, and in PE, that is very important. So before we end, I'll announce what I'm going to announce now, but I want to say thank you to our panelists for sitting here and answering all the questions and giving us the insight and their knowledge of this industry. And I really want to thank you, and I want you guys to please give them a round of applause. Michelle did mention that I'm going to be announcing something that you guys can also take advantage of. Michelle, myself, and a few members in the audience as well, the team that brought PE Nelson Mandela Bay Business Events Awards. 2019, we ran our first one. 2022, we ran our first one post-COVID, and it was an enormous success, and it was wonderful, and it was so nice to network with all the people in the industry again. And the fantastic news is that we are bringing that back this year to 2023. The Nelson Mandela Bay Business Event Awards is not just going to be an award ceremony at the end of the year. We plan on doing it as a networking and a collaboration or a networking session where you can actually join. You can learn from the winners. You can learn from the finalists. You can be part of that network, so that's another way that you can tap into it. Our first event is taking place on the 2nd of February. It's our first networking session that we're hosting. 2nd of February at the Beach Hotel. It's a breakfast. It's 80 Rand per person, 7:30 for 8. And we will be having a panel discussion similar to this with 4 of our winners of 2022. And the topic is, how to get started in the events industry. So if you guys are interested in that, please reach out NMBBEA or Nelson Mandela Bay Business Event Awards, and we'll give you more information, and you guys can RSVP and attend that one. And then the award ceremony is definitely taking place again this year, and we would love to see new faces and really love to reach and tap into new industries or new players in the market. The awards nomination process will open on the 12th of April, and then we encourage you to please nominate a well-deserved player within the industry that deserves the recognition and can get that opportunity to get themselves an award, or at least get the publicity that comes from being nominated. And that's it from us. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mel. Thank you to the team. Thank you, Michelle Brown, Baznando, Sesetu, and Mish. At this point, I think I must earn my keep here at the MBDA. Some of you know us as being based here and the tramways, and some of you who interact with us will know that we're actually much broader than that. The MBDA also operates the Nelson Mandela Bay Science and Technology Center in Kariega, in Gqeberha. That facility, which is largely a science and tech facility, is actually a beautiful venue for events. So please put it in your to-do list. Go check it out. The Science Center in Uitenhage. We're busy building a new shed or redeveloping a shed, a building similar to this, right next door to the Science Center. It's going to be a new space, new facility for imagination. So put that on your to-do list to check out in the future in Uitenhage by the CBD. Then, I guess it is our crown jewel. This is the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. If you didn't know, now you do. The Mandela Bay Development Agency is the operator of this Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. The team, I did see Razik, he's here. Is that Raz? Yeah. Razik at the back is head of commercial at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. There are many opportunities for events at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. There are little rooms, hooks and nooks, and the pitches and many spaces where you can dream up beautiful events. So please do make sure that if you're still around, contact Razik or drop us an email at info@mbda.co.za because the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium is not just a playground. It's a playground of ideas and imagination. To thank our participants and our facilitator, I'm looking for Asanda. There she is. Thanks to Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism for the gift bags they gave me in 2020. We're making use of them today. Are we doing the gift bags? Yes, we are there. Okay. So Asanda to do the thank yous. Thank you very much.
Ngosibuti, greetings to everyone. I would like to keep protocols reserved. I would like to first thank everyone who made this day possible by attending. It has been great to see familiar faces for the beginning of the year. And thank you for always choosing us. If it's for your first time coming into the tramways, Kiona, tramways Yodumolena, come book. The same way you booked your seat is the same way you reserve your date. Now to the panelists over here. I will start with my facilitator, Mel. Thank you for coming on board for an amazing facilitation. I've got a small token of appreciation to you that Andy is going to bring to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Michelle. Michelle, it's always a pleasure working with you. I remember, I think it was 2018 Feb, when you brought Peter Tech Ace at the Athenaeum. It's always been a great pleasure, and it was lovely having you today again. Thanks a lot. It's ladies first. I'm sorry, but
That's okay. That's okay.
SG siswam akhona into ungayaziyo. I won't say anything to you. Sizawuphinda sithethe. Ndiyabulela kakhulu.
Thank
Undenze
you.
umntu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks, Andy.
okay.
Now to Buzz. Buzz, your standard of service has always been amazing. Your etiquette, the way you carry an event. Mel did say from a first birthday to a corporate event, it's been amazing to work with you, and I love the way you turn out spaces to make them unbelievable.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. This is Andy's. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Last but not least, to the entire MPDA team, especially the marketing department led by U Buluvuyo. Nkosi Pudwam, the support was amazing to the rest of the team. I would like also, at the end, if you've got any questions, we're gonna go to a network session, find our panelists, chat to them, drop us an email, book reserve dates. The same way we got fully booked for this event is the same way we get fully booked for dates. So do it now, do it today. We will be waiting for your email. Also, the people that had questions read in front, I would like to ask them to go by that table by Andy, and she's got a little something, a memoriam for them as well. Last but not least, we've got some What Are We Africans, right? So we will need to have something after you've come into a house. So you'll have some water to just hydrate and gossip. I don't know if you've got something.
Thank you.
No, once she's finished, she's done. Thank you very much. The bar is open. And, sorry, protocol is very important. It might trigger you. I just saw somebody here. Our board chairperson is in the building, Ms. Glenda Perumal. Maybe just come forward and just wave to, that's the boss's boss. Okay. It's important for me. Is someone else with you? From the board? No. All right. It's done. Thank you very much. Drinks. Let's stay around. Let's network. Let's engage. Thank you for attending.
Okay.
Are you gonna have?